Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Richard Waring. I'm a member of the PoemWorks Workshop for Publishing Poets community, and this is our monthly poetry reading, first Friday of the month. And I like to start before introducing our two features with a couple of interesting quotes to get our minds working around words. So this first one is from Gary Snyder, who still lives with us. He says, I am a poet who has preferred not to distinguish in poetry between nature and humanity. I really like that. We're all part of nature, really. He says we've actually never been domesticated for any purpose, so we're actually wild. Dinez Smith writes, we water each other's imaginations. No poem is a lonely invention. They are the results of the collaborations and relationships we carry with us to the writing desk. Rachel Carson wrote, if there is poetry in my book about the sea, it is not because I deliberately put it there, but because no one could write truthfully about the sea and leave out the poetry. And finally, Paul Celan says, a poem as a manifestation of language and thus essentially dialogue can be a message in a bottle sent out in the not always grateful, hopeful belief that somewhere and sometime it could wash up on land, on heartland perhaps. Poems in this sense, too, are underway. They are making towards something. And I think tonight you will find this to be the case as Xiaoly and Tom send poems floating our way. So our first featured poet tonight is Xiaoly Li. She is a Mass Cultural Council Artist Fellowship Grant recipient from 2022. Her poetry collection, Every Single Bird Rising, from Future Cycle Press 2023, was a Zone 3 Press Book Award finalist. Her poetry collection, Wakening Between Worlds, beautiful book. Serving House Books 2026 has been shortlisted in the 2024 Cinnamon Literature Awards adjudication. Its older version, Between the Sun and the Moon, was a finalist in the 2023 Diode Editions book and chapbook contests and the WordWorks 2024 Washington Prize. Her poetry is featured or anthologized in Crab Orchard Review, Prism International, Tampa Review, Salamander, Chautauqua, Saranac Review, Spillway, Rhino, Verse Daily, and elsewhere. She has been nominated for Best New Poets, a Push Cart Prize 5 times, and Best of the Net 4 times. She lives in Massachusetts, where her photography has been shown and sold in galleries in the Boston area. Her website is www.xiaoli.art. Please welcome Xiaoly.
First, I want to thank Richard for hosting such a great platform for poetry. And also, I want to thank Tom for co-reading together. And thank PoemWorks group for supporting me. And our weekly discussions group. And Wendy and Steve are here. So I'm going to read 8 poems from my second book, Wakening Between the Worlds. First is called In the Spring of My Youth. I wrote my first poem the first time I saw the ocean. My heart thumped. You and I lay on the beach, until dusk when a guard asked us to leave. I remember your son carry away a light from the boat. More love at the Maple Bridge. We walked along the shoreline, each trace of us erased by waves. When my days feel blue, I return to the ocean where the shore stares at each coming and going, and its roaring floods my ears and settles my heart.
Mm,
Second poem, what I once called home.
mm,
What can time hold? Not the place where we lived in the 1980s, Shanmen Hutong, named in the year the imperial dynasty ended. Not a single trace of my hutong, mazes of narrow lanes, our two-room house, one courtyard, one water faucet, and a big open sky shared by three families. A wooden bed we used as a ping-pong table, lying on top of four chairs in the thick, warm air. Look now at those glassy buildings in the heart of Beijing. Bulky high-rises push the sky further away. What can satisfy the insatiable taste buds? Not the abundant restaurants, Peking duck, Thailand food, Italian pizza, Japanese sushi, ringing in my ears. I miss the vendors' callings, echoed in the hutong. Ice sugar gourds, ice sugar gourds. The tower of red hawthorns on each bamboo stick, covered in ice sugar, crispy, glossy, sweet, and sour. What can history recover? The white pagoda temple near my hutong. We walk in the flurry of dawning catkins, ancient secrets just uncovered, a mantra written in Emperor Qianlong's own hand, a carving of Guanyin made from yellow sandalwood, not the walnut tree towering next to our window. We twisted the stems and coaxed the nuts down with a bamboo hook in the crispy air. Their green shells blackened my hands and took days to wash away.
mm.
Next one is to the people, food is the sky. Bangu, Eastern Han Dynasty. Our sky was limited when I was young. Quota stamps for green, for cooking oil, for meat, eggs, clothes, for bicycle. I couldn't wait for my birthday to get a 10-cent ice cream bar instead of a 5-cent popsicle. I remember the first time father was mad at me because I dropped a few grains of rice into the table's crevice and refused to eat them. He pushed me and I stumbled onto the table and I chipped a tooth. Our appetites could devour the sky, but we ate fresh produce from farms, ripe, untainted, tomatoes, Nepal cabbages, daikons. Nothing was tastier than the memories of free-range chicken. Father got the head, mother wings, me the feet, chewy, long-lasting. We hosted a few parties with food. Our neighbor said, it's not about food, but friendship. Each time we invited her, she took heartburn medicine just before eating our homemade dumplings.
Mhm.
I'll make a monument for the one who invented dumplings, she said. My papa ate a bowl of chicken soup right before leaving for heaven, so she would not be a starving ghost. Her children and grandchildren would not be hungry in life. Yet when I dream about eating, I always lose my turn. Today, the sky has expanded to a bounty of offerings. My desire is limited by my body's needs. I must measure every meal, two-thirds cup of rice, vegetables, fruit, and 2 fingers of protein. My eyes still aim for more, only my eyes.
Mm.
Mm. Wow.
Next one is between the sun and the moon. The sun starts to soften its rays. You come, bald eagle, reclaiming a half moon behind your 1,000 feathered wings. My eyes follow you, lose you between the trees, beside the river, on top of the ancient pine. You land and stay still, eyes like blazing orbs, just crown the snowy head. Summer is your best time, not like winter, when that one-eyed mother eagle died foraging in the snow, while her mate brooded their eggs. Golden light shines your feathers bronze, a statue, a second chance. Not like that father eagle who collapsed on the ice, his eyes drifting, then closing, after eating from deer, shot with a lead bullet. Within an eye blink, you are in the water, burly talons clutching a big fish, wings gliding and slicing butterfly strokes through water. Your nest grows by the year. I hope it lasts, not like the giant nest torn by the storm that I found disassembled on the ground. Along the edge of the river, you rise out of the crimson ripples against the headwind toward the moon. You disappear from sight. Next one, the missing river. Many times in my dream, a toddler wanders toward me, stops and stares, then runs into my arms. I hear the summer's chorus, singing katydids and crickets. This is a yearning ache that wakes me every time. This is what I missed when my mother was forced onto the labor farm. I was only 2, sent to my grandmother in the countryside. This is what I missed when I was ordered not to have a baby while studying at university. This is what I missed when I studied in the States, left you, my 10-month-old daughter, home for 3 years. You were not there for her best sunshine smiles, my mother said. My lonely journey across the Pacific. How many small absences, drop after drop, until I missed the river of you. Now this late fall, we step on layers of chocolate-colored leaves, rustling echoes through the woods. This stream, once dried, is filled from heavy rains. Branches flow into one river.
Wow.
Mm.
Next one, my new festivals. The Saturday festival pulls me in, so I can't see the sunrise above the pink clouds or hear robins calling each other. Sadness used to strike at random times on random days. Now there are new holidays, like go photograph birds or poem writing eve past midnight. Whenever the chives in the garden grow back after cutting, or our daughter comes home, there will be dumpling making day. Among merry days, there will be who cares who said what festivals, and I delight in my own voice. Falling leaves and rainy foggy days are not the festival of blue anymore, but the reflection festivals, the past, the future, the bridges. One day the festival of dying will force its way in. So on Imagine Day, I'll go out, sit beside a tree.
That's great.
Next one. In the great darkness, after my purple drifted into eternal slumber, she showed no signs of pain in her final shape. She took a solitary journey across the last step into the great darkness of space, the earth, the moon, a few shining jewels, the gravity that arranges stars, the love that holds us, living or dead. She is in the urn, mosaic green, agate, waiting to cross the Pacific to be with him, my Gongong, in the motherland, where Dandelin's corona disperses, suddenly free to be an unanchored kite. I knew for my father, for yours, his, and hers, so many fathers and mothers. May my longing keep life going. This one is about when COVID, they suddenly setting everyone free. So many father, mother died. This will be the last one. Weakening between worlds. Words unpin the veil of a little girl. I follow her path up mountains, down to villages, leaving her baby, her family, her motherland, setting virtual neural networks of herself torn, crushed, lost youth, lost friends, lost wounds, lost words, drawn by woods, drawn by meadow, with swans, with eagles, between the sun and the moon, between life and death, between a little country girl and a woman awakening in the rain. Love not from outside, but a rooted tree inside. A murmuring thunder aims my eyes, not a distant horizon, not a shifting target, not a fairy land, not reshaping the contours of the land, but each moment puts her every cell, every word to stand bare, and as that lake mirrors ever-changing clouds, leveling water, ice, snow, claiming, here I am, oh, my little girl, my little self. Thank you.
Oh my goodness.
Wow. Absolutely amazing. Xiaoly, thank you so much. Wow. I love every poem, and I especially love the holidays, the Go Film Earth Day and Who Cares What Anyone Says Festival. And those grains of rice that you left uneaten just haunt me. Unbelievable what you have been through, what you've experienced, what you've endured. As Barbara would say, poetry helps us make life bearable, and you definitely exemplify that. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our next featured poet, wonderful Tom Daley. He leads poetry and memoir workshops online and introduces poets at several different venues in the Boston area. Upcoming is one with Eric Hyatt at the Grolier, which apparently is sold out. So hopefully you've got tickets for that. He introduces people at the City Night readings, the second Thursday poetry readings at Hyde Park, and the Grolier Poetry Bookshop. He hosts the Poetry Salon of Boston, which meets via Zoom every Monday during the school year. His most recent publication is a self-published handmade artist book, Body Surfing Venice Beach, a poem he illustrated with his own incredible watercolors. And I have in my possession some of Tom's amazing watercolor portraits. It's my great pleasure to introduce and welcome Tom Daley.
Well, thank you, Richard, and thank you, Xiaoly. Richard quoted Danez Smith, "We water each other's imagination." Xiaoly, you certainly watered mine. I was very taken by this. Probably one of the more interesting rhetorical questions I've heard in poetry in a while. What can history recover? And I think of recover there both as recover from an illness and also to bring something back. So that was quite wonderful. All right, these are all poems I've written in the last 6 months. First one is called Still Life with Smyrna and Maraschino. After a reproduction of Just Dessert by William Michael Harnett. Though it hung through all the festivals, the radar alerts from the North Pole, the flesh of the baby sister coming in fresh from the birthing wing of the hospital, through all the boiled chicken with its nubbly skin which bloated in the pressure cooker, this still life cannot retrieve the breath of the persons who inhabited that kitchen in the time zone of a temporary happiness. Now, as it tilts against the eaves in the attic, it still lives with its box marked Smyrna mounted by a pottery jar, glazed blue as the prominent vein the phlebotomists seek, with its bottle of maraschino liquor. The weak, late winter light from the painter's partially shaded window high-lit the side of a copper pitcher in a pewter tankard. The graying color of the bunch of grapes prefigured the shabby onset of infidelity and madness in that household. The reproduction survived the crack loud as treefall when they shuttered the back of the moving van. It survived the spayed beagle humping the prepubescent female legs and the 2 suicides. Relics can only bless the dead, can only reinterpret joy as something no chiaroscuro can retain as time dulls the thick paper on which the scene was reprinted. Time, measured in damage, cannot repair the paper's cracks and bulges. It cannot remit the presence of a clan endlessly mythologizing its sterile attainments, which were schooled by arrangements in shadow and slash. The Children's Cemetery. In wartime, all of his hirsute baccalaureate extravaganzas, all his post-structuralist misfires have hardened into a headache, into a perfumed bar of soap that floats with expired rubber missile mounts on a creek so choked by recent rains that it seeps the lower reaches of the children's cemetery, where every mortarboard they never wore is caught like a drone in the net of their dismay. Dystopic thinking is an indulgence. Dystopic thinking is an indulgence for those who convert temptation into insulation. In their ivory slide rules, they imagine they have calculated the formula for a virus that will deplete the lymphatic systems of their enemies and will leave those of themselves and their kin plump and smooth-spoken. Each infection exacts a vanity's vigilance. Each prognostication extends the severity that divides wish from will. Grief and its sans serif simplicities. Grief and its sans serif simplicity how it tends time in its cool casualities, how it slips out of the ruptures, both the sudden punctures and the nightmare slogs. Here we aren't in the veering ever. Hot and then topped off, footloose and the obstructed howl. Will we live the rest of our lives having forgotten the toggle of each other's smile? As the miles of time emit their vaporous stretch, here we aren't in the veering ever. Here we aren't, having never shown each other the skin that matters, never fished the mad rattle or its tattles out of the stew of our unbecoming. Only parched now where everything once had dampened, with your impending fluencies, your catching array of errancies and ingenuities. Hot liquid might clear the road and its blockages, the one leading from the field where you crammed my expectation and then abandoned it. But I seem only fit to wrangle with the scars left by the measly fever you spread out of the splay of your sexual intellect, out of the tumescent iridescence of your spirited spritz of laughter and dis. Time capsule for Shauna Hill. Put those poems about him in a time capsule, she suggests. And when the capsule is released in 6 months or so, send him back to yourself as him speaking to you in his voice, articulating what transpired between the two of you. Give it an animal eloquence, she might have added, animated with snarls and whistles with which a beast might wound the air. Let him live in the vent holes which his resentments excavated in the roof of the tunnel, which breathed with the fumes of what you imagined as a mutual attachment. Let him howl with the vowels which he might have exploded to inflame your eardrums, had he not decided to endure the onset, or rather the onslaught of your wishes to tinder him and fondle his reluctant sternum and more reluctant backside. Now you have devolved. Now you have devolved to a muscle memory, an ink thinned in a glass of water full of black that was used to clean the nibs that wrote all my longing, now gone long. When I think of you now, I can rarely reach beyond the images I collected of you, wolfish and often sad, to imagine what it was to contact the wry surprise of your eyes, narrowed by a warm and winking guile. Now you have solidified out of a cursive facility into a dull and thudless mass, as if the sponge with which your hand, once soppy with my dreams, had crumbled in on itself, growing heavy as a hip bone. The Brotherhood. They are dead to me now, with their rough cut, sometimes tentative chuckling, their Broadway drabness, their yawns, and their elder abuse. They are dead to me with their religion, their early warning Eucharists, their jazz radios, their training on their bone flutes, and their reserves of giddy digs and gossipy priggishness. We proclaimed ourselves a brotherhood, but it dissolved, or rather loosened, just as soon as we said goodbye for the summer. With the seeds of imaginary figs dotting our teeth, we defied the logic of male camaraderie, only long enough to skid into a death threaded with mutual suspicions and dutiful wounds. The next poem is called The Ghost Limbs, and it was partly inspired by John van Eyck's The Arnolfini Wedding. In their pale visages, the old bourgeois extend the wealth they accrued through outright stealth. And still, the ghost limbs extend the resentments of those they pillaged. And in this, we have the presentiment of wars of rebellion, in which blood will dissolve bullion into beef stock and the crude redivision of the spoils of time. Even now, centuries later, their traffic in human chattel and coal seams benefits a few and denigrates the bruised blue rest and their planet too. The shelving clerk at the Goodwill in Davis Square. She pads and wrinkles through the basement second-handed and crooning every verse of the sad man ballads on the satellite radio. Her clear perfection of pitches slips like a cooling trombone bustle over the testosterone, over the winking gang guy chatter, over the Saturday smirk, which the undergraduates make as they pry the quarter zipper fleeces from the V-necked wool sweaters. The sweaters perspire with the whiff of the anti-blowfly, anti-lice sheep dips established in the same pastures where stars crowd over the skeletons of lambs with coyote teeth caught in their neck bones. Her expert fingertips lift the steel water bottles with their corporate promotional mythologies off her cart. She sets them on the shelf where they vibrate without sound to the toy telephone, toy xylophone, which twinkles only when it is drawn by a cord over the linoleum. Its wheels set off the hammers that articulate the rhythm inherent in a collapsing dark star. She can point you to where the solo vest in the rack of men's suits waits to show you how much your potbelly has ballooned since the last time you steered it down to her cellar. She concentrates too furiously on her work to acknowledge you're complimenting her imposing voice with anything more than a curt smile and the clipped thank you a mother duck might make when the pond near where she hatched her ducklings finally thaws enough for her to herd them into their first swim. Is there such a thing as a silent resistance? They say that snow is silent, but as it nimbles down, it drags the air and waffles the cold. We cannot hear it, but it rustles and scrapes and stirs the insects sleeping in the hedges and tilting on the dried stalks that survived last December's controlled fire. Is there such a thing as silent resistance? Out on the sidewalks as the snow crackles, they are banging garbage lids and tamarines, slamming their eyelids shut and forgetting to breathe through their noses as the tear gas canisters explode. El Paso, Faustian chilblains authorizing the tent city, where death is laid out and the oligarchs bark their way through hell-bent, hard, and crash-out snark. The mindset of seizing edicts steps up into epithet and expletive, into the swing of the unhinged, into substantive derisions. But where are the miles of defiance? The legacies that gall with insults have found you and no longer lag behind you, dialing down and right-sizing with the posters that revisit the mandates of an optional God. The organist. This is after a painting by Titian, Venere con organista amorino e cagnolino, Venus with organist, cherub, and little dog. Titian's name in Italian is Tiziano. He holds himself with the active lack of hopefulness of a eunuch, the disappointed yearning of a weaned kitten in the wake of its mother's disregard. His whole head gestures towards Venus's splits and fissures, with that kindness some persevering lovers reserve for those whose affections in the lover's direction have dissipated or dissolved. He is interpreting her curves on his keyboard. And so if you read lasciviousness in the salute of his right eyelash, in the barely detectable flare of his nostril, the way his head tilts toward her nipples, he will forgive you for misreading his fruitless calculations. To the crashers. Can't think of a trio we would rather have crash our living room. Your welter of baby equipment, your son spreading his smile and rummaging through yesterday's New York Times with the insistence of a papier-mâché artist, selecting just the right textures for his strips. His waving hello and goodbye with a kind of wistful earnestness, our joking and guffawing, trading tales. It was like a slumber party, an encampment at a stayover summer camp, where one has nothing but camaraderie to look forward to. And all the campers focus their attention on the youngest camper who, not yet capable of a grin, frequently turns his face into the smile that is one part instinct and one part wish to join the bonhomie that is all around him. Resolve to bleed. Resolve to bleed the radiators of their toxic air pockets. To drain my laugh track of the anxious stutter that follows a joke that people realize but find specious or flat. To prioritize and not to merely memorize. To freckle and not to merely crackle. To slow, but not so much that I forget the next word or phrase. To listen and to at least sometimes remember. To appreciate even as the human world depreciates and dismembers. So before I read my last poem, I want to again express my gratitude to Richard for inviting me. Richard is a wonderful host. He hosted me doing a memoir workshop on Star Island. That was a wonderful experience. Thanks again to Xiaoly Li, and thanks to all of you for coming and listening. It's so great to see so many people I've worked with in workshops and friends. And anyway, so this is the last poem. It's called Pittsford, which is a suburb of Rochester, New York. A serious percentage of the guests in the motor inn park their cars by backing in. The exclusive of the function of gas jets from the sun nowadays is to illuminate the mining by bituminous ants of the copper-colored soil under cracks in the sidewalks that parallel the southern shores of Lake Ontario. If the wind in this part of spring ramps up to profligate, it only agitates the spindly ruffs of the whitened dandelion, which prepare their scrutable messages to stick in the door sills of diesel engines powering the transport of toys, wheat flour, and absinthe to destinations only now recovering from giant snowbanks in the parking lots of orthodontists and masseurs. Summer will be fierce this summer, so they say, and the advisories accumulate with a harshness not recorded since the soothsayers of the dynastic queens of Egypt first learned the trick of predicting how many ant colonies would drown and how many chariots would collapse in the mud spread by the Nile after the spring rains sent down from Sudan. Thank you very much.
That was great, Tom. I've always loved your astringency. And I think it's notable that your vocabulary contains words that I have a hard time pronouncing, let alone knowing the meaning of. So thank you for widening my wordsmithing with chiaroscuro and hirsute, lymphatic, and tumescent. I mean, to see those.
Oh, you don't know what tumescent means?
I think I do, actually.
I should hope so.
Yes, it's happened to me once or twice. So yeah, that was great. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
I want to mention that next month we're going to have a month off. It is around the 4th of July weekend after all. But the month after that will be two Richards, myself and Richard Hoffman. Looking forward to that and premiering some poems from my new book. I'd like to now introduce members of our esteemed audience, some of whom will share a poem. Our first poet in the open mic is Galluccio.
Lucio, yeah. Thanks, Richard. I'm just going to read a little poem. This is a new poem about someone I write a lot about, an ex-boyfriend, and it's called Wings. Your brother Stephen came to me one night years ago with some dope to sniff. It was my first time after all those times of being with you and having sex when you were high. They call it getting your wings. After we inhaled the powder, we stepped into a liquor store and got kicked out. They must have known we were not quite right. And then to the Middle East. Your brother charmed me as if we were on the yellow brick road, surrounded by munchkins. We ordered pizza and danced to Prince, but I felt sick and threw up in the ladies' room. They say that's what happens the first time. As much as he loves you, he was trying to get even, to show me what that stuff really is, against a junkie boyfriend, always copping. I never did it again. I don't mind needles, but I would never shoot it into my veins. Lou Reed, in his famous song, Heroin, it's my life and it's my wife. I really didn't dig the feeling. It just made me sick. You're lucky you're clean.
Wow. Thank you, Lo. Whew. Up next, Tom Howard.
Well, this is a little bit different. It's called, it's about the Cathedral of Chartres in France. The blue of Chartres. How did the glaziers so long ago capture the light of a blue star, distill the light into glass, traded from the broiling lands to the east? How else could it be but by magic? The light of the 12th century, streaming through the west lanterns of Chartres, is not just the light of our ordinary sun. No, it is not just that. It is the blue of the ancient East, blended with the hot blue fire of creation. And the glaziers found the fire God used to forge the universe. It cooled the fire into slow glass, casting blue shadows of creation upon the living stone floor. That's it.
Wow. Thank you, Tom.
Oh, you're welcome.
Up next, Laurence Deltor.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi. Okay. Let's see. I'm gonna read a poem called Even If He Didn't, which is written after a Twilight Zone episode. Imagine you're the last representative of humanity left on Earth, and what you have for the rest of your life is a library, working but unattended. What do you read? Start with Borges. His games with the infinite, his encroaching blindness would appeal to you. Soon you realize they are, after all, only games. Insightful, yes, and touching a deep core of mystery, but nothing to stand behind. The mathematical writers are next, but you can't get past their snarkiness like you thought you could. Everyone's being so petty. None of it matters. Appeal is itself a dead end, and none of them realize the charge they're actually given, to map out all possible patterns by which one might meet the universe. But the universe has already been met. Here's the question. What text do you spend humanity's final years filling humanity's time with? Do you ever waver, shifting for a moment to consider ripping out the pages of City of God to create the ultimate origami instead? I can't imagine. None of the languages created in all our dead history seem adequate to the task of being the final dream of the dissolving wisp of human consciousness. Hebrew, Sanskrit, Assyrian, all discarded. You're in too much despair to sift through the spotty records of interstellar contact and decide if Sagan or Strieber is more to be trusted. Fortinbras and his cavalry of new life simply missed you, you decide, after Hamlet enjoys its last ever replication in the neural firings of a human brain. In the end, you spend the nights of your own declining eyesight, thousands of them, glasses still perfectly intact, looking at pictures of frogs.
Very good. Thank you, Laurence.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah.
And now please welcome Ruth Hoberman.
Thank you. This is a poem called Prayer, and I wrote it after a visit to the Clark Institute, where there was a painting by Pierre Bonnard, who's one of my favorite painters, but I hardly ever see his paintings. So there's a reference to Bonnard within the poem. Prayer. Sunset hangs in my window, pink and gray on receding blue, making me think of my friend whose poems have God in them. Really, he's there, afloat mid-line, making life worthwhile. I wish he'd visit mine. Instead, Bonnard, that painting I saw today, where two women hover over a dog. A tight triangle they form, the dog dangling his legs in their lap, something like the Christ child in a Raphael. But look how Bonnard's frame takes one woman's head right off, and the dog, the color of dog shit, honestly, looks stuffed, honestly, looks ready to fall out. All of them tilted forward, tumbling right out of the foreground toward the museum floor. Precarious. The way I felt going down those stairs today. The grandkids on their bikes. My brother's heart. This sad blue globe we're on. Precarious from prex, same root as prayer. Thank you.
Wow, awesome.
Yeah.
And now, here is Judith Hoyer.
Still life. He was asleep when I woke. Everything is the same, or so it seems. There are strawberries and sliced turkey in the fridge, and Diet Coke. His veteran's ID gets us into the officers' club for lobster on weeknights. Things need fixing just the same. He caulked the bathroom tile and tinkered with the back doorbell that doesn't surprise us anymore. We're thinking about Ireland or maybe Arizona. Every third Wednesday is penciled in with infusion, that continuous, slow introduction of a solution into the vein that treats what has spread beyond the lungs. Rabbits continue to devour the hosta. Yellow archangels in a vase breathe in the air. Thank you.
Nice. Wow. Thank you, Judith.
Welcome.
We've got a little bit of a painting thing going on here with the still life. Let's see what Wendy Drexler has to say.
All right, I think I'm just going to change what I was going to read then. Read something acrostic if I can find it. Let's see. Yeah, Mark Rothko, Untitled, 1954. But first, I just wanted to thank Xiaoly and Tom for a wonderful reading. And if I may put in a little plug, because they are both going to be part of an exhibit that I am also going to be in at Gallery 5 Sparks, which is a collaboration of 13 pairs of visual artists and poets in conversation with one another. And the opening reception will be Sunday, June 14th. The gallery is on the Green in Harvard, Massachusetts, and the show will run until July 18th. So if you're in the area, please stop by. I think it's going to be a really rich and interesting and wonderful show.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, this is Mark Rothko, Untitled, 1954, from the Yale Art Museum. There's nothing to do but stare, nothing to do but loosen myself in that lavender twilight, in steerage to the orange sky, which itself is drawn and quartered, as gold as Troy, as captivating as a time-lapse video of sunset over the Grand Canyon, as sad as a lost address, as quenching as water for a thirst I didn't know I had, as open as a threshold over whatever lies beyond the body, after the body. I wonder if what the mind seeks, the body has always known but won't tell. If the horizon is a seam too small for transmigration, the way there's something sacred in the hum of dust from the stained glass windows of Sainte-Chapelle. In the rooms of Untitled, a fire is simmering, but seemingly safe under the grate. That kind of risk, or the relief after risk, or maybe a truce with what, after all, can't be saved, which is, of course, nearly everything. But it shimmers, doesn't it, whatever remains? Maybe it's true we are not given more than we can bear, bounding daily from rage to delight, and back to rage I try to allay by wondering whether to call the color of the moon outside tiger or tarnished silver, as if I could only bridle the untitled sky with the right shade, I'd be able to see clear through it. Thank you. You're muted, Richard.
Thank you. And now, if I can find him, please welcome George Brown.
Thank you, guys. The title of the poem I am going to read is A Woman We Forgot. And the epigraph for it is a quote from the graffiti you can find on the underside of the BU Bridge. It reads in big red letters, Boston University killed all my friends. She took the concrete stairs from the 6th to the 18th, where the zoo meets the concrete sky, stepping strictly up 12 floors on those 2 tall stairs where we would walk. But she took an extra step where we did not. And down, 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 we all fall down, willows on the Charles, all cascading down. And we do not remember her, a woman younger than I, who knew what she could not. At 8 a.m., the pigs called to say they visited the zoo, and I, for a decade, tried to die with dull, numbing narcotics, pills and potions cutting serrated, but never was man enough to take an extra step where I could not. And I do not believe in shadowy hands or days that are done. But if you see this here, I'm sorry you had to do what you did and wish you didn't. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, George. Wow. And now please welcome Diana Cole.
Okay, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
All right. It's great to see some old friends here, so thank you. And to hear them, it's just wonderful. Our featured poets were phenomenal. Okay, my poem is called Yes, There Are Two Ways About It. You've heard about Schrodinger's cat in the box with a vial of poison. Yes, there's 2 ways about it. dead and alive, until the box is opened. So face it, this suspicion, alive and kicking, could be dead if I open the door and observe just what you're up to. I'm ignoring knowing for certain. If the flask has broken apart to break my heart, there will be no two ways about it. Yes, a two-timing world we find ourselves thinking in. On top of that, I have to negotiate with myself when I ask what I would do if I did know for certain. It's a squirrel in the road thing, the impulse to retreat or rush into traffic. Thank you.
Wow. And I should mention that Diana will be reading with David Miller in October. So looking forward to that. Nice little teaser right now. Please welcome Mid Walsh.
Hi, everybody. In the place where I live, there are structures being torn down all over the place, even in the midst of this beautiful flowering springtime. This is a poem called Tear Down. Vines, draw the purple curtain over every window. Blossom blind the vacant rooms. Don't let them see these yellow-headed men drive in stakes, corral their shuddering tools behind this chainmail fence. Jays shriek flight to the migrant birds and bugs in the weedy garden. The old home will be beaten and carried away. A great hole approaches that has no foundation, only a garland of mud.
Wow. Thank you, Mid. And now our penultimate poet, Pam Gemme.
Thanks, Rich. I'm just going to read something that I'm working on. I was a child protection social worker, so I'm sort of writing about that. So this is called Behind the Church. And I put my own little epigraph. I come to mourn the bells tolling in my first funeral of many, for a child in his tiny casket, cloaked in crosses. Violence smites the haloed couple with a child, and the cock crowed. Atoms split, a widening spire in Eden leading households, little thoughts and prayers, all in a muster, a mess making myth. Call it saccharine, call it sacrilegious, call it effigy, the written word. A strata of earth from the beginning, breath of carbon, changeling, faith, a family falters. Tomorrow I must keep holy, because original birds spread black wings to cinder the horizon. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Pam. I'm going to close things out with a poem from my brand new book. And it's something that I think most poets can relate to. I would imagine.
We say that again. Oh, it's so beautiful. Okay, thank you.
It's called Rejections. 1. I am sorry to report your poem doesn't suit my need for a single time, place, or incident in the life of a moth. Always read my publication. It could make a difference. 2. Here you have one place and incident, but it doesn't take us far into a realm dark as Houdini. I'm holding on to it for possible future inclusion, if you're open to some editing. 3. You should have seen me crying over the steering wheel, but you didn't take my advice enough about the 3 instars. Perhaps you should think longer and write slower. It's not quite a fist. 4. I am perennially, perpetually, ridiculously behind in getting these things out. You focus firmly on the creature with phrases like, Wings weave thin air into moons and eye spots. But the last 3 lines don't give us enough insight into a moth's life. 5. Though I read your submission respectfully and with care, I'm currently booked for the next 10 years. Good luck. Sorry. Cheers anyway. Thanks for considering our magazine a home for your moth.
Richard, that's just hilarious.
Those are actual words and rejection letters to me. Everything word for word.
That was amazing.
Parkman Howe, right? Parkman Howe.
Oh, he's in there big time. Yes, yes. That was the start of it all.
Richard, did you ever get rejected by a Caribbean writer?
Not that I know of. Why?
So a Caribbean writer sends a rejection letter saying, "We regret to inform you that we have to reject your poem, even though it was probably the greatest poem we have ever received and could possibly ever publish, because if we published it, it would intimidate everybody else who's submitting to our."
Oh, that's great.
That's such colossal bullshit. That's incredible.
Oh my gosh, that is so great. So great.
Well, I don't have to say this, but it has been a wonderful evening, and I really appreciate all the participation, and our 2 features were just phenomenal. And
Richard, I want to add something just before you go.
Yeah.
Plenty of seats in the online version of my conversation with Eric Hyatt on July 2nd. So the in-person is sold out, but the online has lots of spots. So if anybody didn't get a in-person spot, they can do it through the Grolier website, get a virtual spot.
Great. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah. And thank you again for hosting this wonderful series.
It's my pleasure. And
you're a very generous man. You're a gracious host.
And I'm hopefully not too messant.
Why not? Why shouldn't you be? You would hope that poetry would engorge.
Oh boy. It's time for me to go.
Oh, I was thinking it was the opposite. Maybe I'm wrong. Okay, I'm gonna have to look that up.
Thanks, Richard.
You've got me going to one of my favorite books, the dictionary. Well,
right, thanks
good
again.
evening, everyone, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Richard.
It was a great open mic, a wonderful open mic.
Thank you, Richard, and everyone else.
Thank you so much,
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
All right.
Stay strong, everyone.
Everyone.
Take care.
We
Bye,
need
Rich. I
poetry
sent you an
more than ever.
Bye, Rich. I sent you an email.
All right, take care.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Thank everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.